And this is where MAGA comes to talk. Oh, man. Big scandal has just dropped with Kamala Harris and how she got into law school. And, it's amazing. This is what happened. She was in the Senate for like 5 minutes. The next thing you know, she's running with Joe Biden to be the vice president of the United States. And now, without getting a single vote, with skipping the entire primary process in the last 2 election cycles, all of a sudden, she's the nominee without any votes, and we're getting all of this, truth about her. What is it that liberal women like to say? My truth. Well, Kamala Harris's truth is pretty brutal. So there's been some reporting today about how she got into law school. I got a couple stories here. It's being reported in many, many sources, but I pulled up 2 versions from 2 different outlets. I'll read through them so we can get the bottom of Kamala Harris's law school admission scandal. Here's the headline. This is in the Daily Signal. Kamala Harris admitted to law school through Adverse Experiences program, though parents of hers were tenured professor. Through adverse experiences? A girl born in Berkeley, grew up in a fancy schmancy part of Canada, and she has adverse experiences? That's what she said. Which, by the way, that means she took a spot in law school away from someone who really had adverse experiences, like C. Thomas Howe and Soul Man, right? Okay, this is from the Daily Signal. Vice President Kamala Harris, which soon will be former Vice President Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris was admitted to law school through University of California, San Francisco's Legal Education Opportunity Program for students with educational disadvantage, economic hardship, or disability, according to the law school's magazine. Educational disadvantage, both of her parents are tenured college professors. Economic hardship, tenured college professors make a good living. Or disability? What's her disability? This is criminal, and it's immoral. Democrat nominee Kamala Harris is a 1989 graduate. Oh, I'm an 89 graduate too, of high school. I graduated high school in 1989. Democratic nominee Kamala Harris is a 1989 graduate of the program, according to a 2018 article in the University of California Law San Francisco magazine. LEOP, that's the legal, liberals, they got all these acronyms. LEOP is the Legal Education Opportunity Program for students with educational disadvantage, economic hardship, or disability, offers admission to approximately 50 high-achieving students each year, up to 20% of the class, who have experienced major life hurdles, such as educational disadvantage, economic hardship, or disability, the article says. The majority are for students of color. So it'd be very interesting if someone in the media did some research on this, find out what students applied that were turned down that year. Whose seat in law school did Kamala Harris steal? Besides traditional admissions criteria, such as grades and LSAT scores, the article continues, the program also considers students' overall potential and the obstacles they've overcome. What obstacles did she overcome? The Legal Education Opportunity Program provides extra help to its law students, offering a week-long orientation, academic counseling, practice exams. That means you get the exams in advance. Oh, my goodness. And help prepping for the bar exam and job interviews, among other resources and services. Well, remember, she failed the bar. The Kamala Harris campaign did not respond to the Daily Signal's questions about which major life hurdles qualified the vice president for Legal Education Opportunity Program. Oh, my goodness. This is bad. This is really bad. This is, you know what this is? This is fraud. William H. Macy's wife and that actress from Full House went to prison for academic dishonesty, right? lying on admission. Isn't that what they did? William H. Macy's wife and the woman from Full House, didn't they go to prison for lying on college admissions forms for their kids? Kamala Harris did that. Should she go to prison? After moving to the United States from India, Kamala Harris's mother earned a PhD from the University of California, Berkeley, and became a researcher and professor. Her mother worked at the University of Illinois and the University of Wisconsin, spent time in France and Italy, and received tenure at McGill University in Montreal. That's where Kamala grew up. The would-be vice president, Kamala, lived in Canada with her mother and sister from age 12 until she graduated high school. From 75 to 76, when Kamala was 12, professors at several universities, including McGill, made an average of $28,751 per year, according to a study of professors' salaries at 61 schools from that time. This was over double the median household income at the time. The median household income at the time that her mother was a professor there was $11,800, and her mother was making over $28,000. Her father held a PhD from Berkeley, became a tenured professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, then returned to California to become a professor of economics at Stanford. The New Yorker described her father, Donald Harris, as a renowned Marxist economist from Jamaica who taught at Stanford University for decades. The University of California San Francisco Law School did not respond to the Daily Signal's request for comment about what qualified Kamala Harris for this program. Kamala has faced multiple accusations of plagiarism in the past week as investigative journalists uncovered passages in her books and her written testimony that copy long passages elsewhere verbatim. And they got the examples here. Okay, now here's another. I mean, this is brutal. Kamala Harris stole a seat in law school from a student who was deserving of it. Okay, here's another article. This is on allsides.com. Kamala Harris accused of entering law school under a hardship program she did not qualify for. Oh my goodness. This is criminal. Criminal. If you're new to my channel, by the way, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. All right, make sure you subscribe. Oh, this is bad. For Kamala. It's good for America. All right. Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm going to click the link to read the full story. Vice President Kamala Harris was reportedly admitted to the University of California Law School San Francisco under a hardship program that she didn't qualify for. Yeah, this is just like Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas. Yep, that's right. The Legal Educational Opportunity Program offers admission to approximately 50 high-achieving students each year, up to 20% of the class, who have experienced major life hurdles, such as educational disadvantage, both of her parents tenured PhDs, economic hardship, her mother was making twice the median income, or disability, according to the University of California Law San Francisco magazine. The same report lists Kamala Harris as part of the school's 89 alumni who benefited from the program. According to critic Laura Powell, a civil liberties attorney, this is a big problem given that Kamala Harris was anything but disadvantaged. Kamala Harris's mother came from the highest caste in India. Whoa, I didn't know that. Her mother came from the highest caste in India? Whoa, what's that? Let me look that up. Hold on. Highest caste in India. What color dot is that? Red's the poor people, right? What is the highest caste in India? The highest caste in India is the Brahmin, which is at the top of the general category. Okay, so what is that? Let me see. Her mother is from the highest caste. And in India, they have a caste system. It's like classes. Like we have lower class, middle class, upper middle class. Her mother was at the highest class. That's what the dot on the forehead of Indians stands for. It lets you know what caste. Okay. The lowest caste are the Dalits. They're called outcasts, street sweepers, and latrine cleaners. The next caste above that are called the Shudras. Those are laborers. The next class after that is I know I'm mispronouncing these. Vaishyas, those are farmers, traders, and merchants. The next class above that is the Kshatriyas. Those are warriors and rulers. And then the highest caste, which Kamala Harris's mother was a member of, is the Brahmins. Those are priests and teachers. Holy smoke. That is something else, isn't it? Wow. Wow. Did you guys know that? Hold on. Let's get some more information on this before we move on. Let's see here. It says that her mother was of the highest class. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let me look it up. Let's see. The Brahmins. I'm trying to copy and paste here. Like Kamala in her book. Copy and paste. I'm just copying and pasting so I can search for what this is. Brahmins are a Hindu social class or Varna that hold a high position in Indian society. They are the highest of the four Varnas or social classes in Hinduism. Wow. They traditionally served as priests and teachers at Hindu temples and socio-religious ceremonies. Wow. Wow, let me see. So the dot, I want to see what color the dot is that they wear. I'm not sure. Let me see here. So wow. So I did not. Did you guys know this? Yeah, that's right. So her mother is of the highest class. Holy smokes. All right, let's get back to this article. Let me see here. Kamala Harris's mother came from the highest caste in India. But by moving to the United States and Canada, obtaining a prestigious degree, marrying a future Stanford professor, having a successful career as a cancer researcher, and sending her daughter to private schools, yeah, she went to private school in Canada, Kamala became unusually disadvantaged and qualified for such a scholarship? I don't think so. Wow. Wow. So that is something. So Kamala Harris has stolen a law school education, right? Is that fair to say? What would you think? According to this, if this is true, and it's well sourced, did Kamala Harris steal a law school education? And you know what? I'm assuming she got like a full ride scholarship, right? If you get that kind of admission, are you paying for the law school? Stolen valor, just like Tim Walz. Yeah, stolen valor. That's exactly right. That's brutal, man. That's really terrible. Some poor kid that was truly disadvantaged did not get the law school education that Kamala got. She stole it from someone. That's right. That's right. Oh, here's Kamala Harris speaking today.
What do you say to those people, especially ones who might be concerned that, doing a big closing argument speech at a place like the Ellipse, maybe leaning more into talking about the threat of Trump to democracy and not his threats that you see to the economy?
This whole thing of calling Trump a threat to democracy is so reckless and irresponsible. A never-Trumper shot President Trump, all right? Shot him. Another never-Trumper tried to shoot him at the golf course, and they still go out there and say he's Hitler, he's fascist, he's a threat to democracy, he's a danger.
What do you say to those people, especially ones who might be concerned that, doing a big closing argument speech at a place like the Ellipse, maybe leaning more into talking about the threat of Trump to democracy and not his threats that you see to the economy?
One of the things that I love about the American people is we can hold many thoughts at once. And one of the highest priorities for the American people right now is bringing down cost, and that is the priority of my agenda and will be the priority of my work when I'm elected President of the United States.
What was that about? I mean, she didn't answer the question, just more gobbledygook. Oh, man. Well, don't worry about Kamala's voice. You won't have to hear it much longer, because she's going to lose, and she's going to lose big time. Now, Donald Trump today had this press conference with the mother of that little girl who was raped and murdered by two of Kamala Harris's illegal dreamers. And he was talking about the town hall with Anderson Cooper. Did you see this? And Kamala Harris. And he called Anderson Cooper something else.
And last night she said she wants to make strong borders. I mean, what she did last night and the night before, the town hall with Cooper was just unbelievable. Allison Cooper got so angry.
He called Anderson Cooper Allison Cooper. Oh my goodness! I've not heard that before. Did he slip? Did he say that on purpose, or is that what they call Anderson Cooper? No, Donald Trump never makes a mistake. He says what he means, and everything Donald Trump says is very well thought out. That's why we love him. Oh. Now the thing about that is, I've never heard anybody say that before. I wonder if that's like what Anderson Cooper's friends call him. Like that guy from Bravo that hosts the housewife shows. You know that guy that's his best friend that does the New Year's Eve show with him? What's his name? Andy Cohen? Is that what Andy Cohen calls Anderson Cooper? I don't know. President Trump, yesterday, he's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, allowing people to deduct the interest on their car loans from their taxes on American-made vehicles. But he's been talking the last couple of days about eliminating income taxes completely for everyone and not replacing it with a national flat tax or a national sales tax. He's talking about funding the government with import-export taxes, tariffs. And that's the way that the government was funded until the early 1900s, until Woodrow Wilson's time. The entire government was funded on import taxes. That's true. And a lot of people are saying, well, the government's too big now. Well, stop spending so much money. Do we have to be sending all this money to the world in foreign aid? We're paying for NATO. We're paying for Zelensky. We're paying for South America. Stop paying for all this crap in these other countries. And then they'd be able to do it. But that's a hugely popular thing. And that's like the worst nightmare of the establishment too. The idea that everyone gets their taxes cut, because first of all, these lifelong government people see all that tax revenue as their own personal money, right? With these, not just the Democrats, but the permanent Washington class, they view the American people as not human. They don't think we're human. They think we are creatures, organisms that excrete tax money for them. That's all they think we are. And when Donald Trump's out there talking about cutting all these taxes and doing away with all these taxes, they go into a panic, because if people have more of their money, they have more freedom, right? So many people work several months a year just to pay taxes. And most people are paying 50% or more in taxes. They just don't know it, right? Property tax, tolls on the turnpike. You renew your auto tags, right? That's a tax, right? I mean, sales tax. Look at your cell phone bill and all the different. There's local, state, federal taxes all over that. Most people are paying 50% or even more in taxes. They just don't know it because it's hidden in all these different types of things. Even if you're a renter, you're paying property taxes through the rent that the property owner has to pay. I mean, so this is it. I mean, doing away with all these taxes, this is their piggy bank. This is how they get rich. Why do you think Liz Cheney and all these neocons and Kamala and the Bidens are so rich? It's because the national treasury, with all this tax money they're ripping us off for, is, their piggy bank. But Donald Trump, not only is he going to win, he's going to win big. And that's not just me saying it. That is CNN. This is CNN today. This was just amazing analysis on CNN, talking about Trump possibly winning not just the election, but the popular vote. CNN.
Trump may finally get his great white whale. Harris versus Trump national march. And you mentioned that New York Times poll, a tie. That's actually right in the middle of the spectrum when we're talking about recent polling data. You don't have to look very far to find Donald Trump ahead nationally. He was up by 2 points in the CNBC poll, up by 3 in the Wall Street Journal poll. Very close races within the margin of error. But then the same thing on the other side, right? You have Harris up by 3 points according to Ipsos. The Say 24 YouGov poll, it's a bunch of academics, also has Harris up by 3. But the bottom line is, with the popular vote, which we really have...
Okay, so this guy, Wall Street Journal and CNBC have Trump up. This academic poll and this Say 24, which I never heard, have Kamala up. But the New York Times has Donald Trump and Kamala Harris tied. The New York Times.
Focused upon a very, very tight race, John. Fact is, Donald Trump is very much in a position he could win the popular vote, which, of course, is something he would absolutely love to do.
Yeah, I'd love him. Do you guys want him? I'd love him to win the popular vote, too. I mean, this is astounding that CNN is reporting this. Okay, this isn't Fox. This isn't Breitbart. It's not me. This is left-wing CNN. And I've been talking to you guys for the past few months since the debate with Trump and Biden on CNN with Cooper, Dana Bash, and wasn't it Jake Tapper? Was it Jake Tapper and Dana Bash? The CNN, they got rid of Biden, and now they want Kamala to lose. And, CNN is deep state, and the deep state is pissed off at the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. They lost a lot of people, a lot of assets, and everything else. And this is their revenge for what happened in Afghanistan. So, and this CNN, that was the ABC debate, David Muir, and Kamala's sorority sister. CNN saying this is not what CNN normally does when they're talking about Democrats and Republicans less than 2 weeks away from the presidential election. Usually what they do, they're propping up the Democrat to try to help them win. CNN, every step of the way, has been hurting Kamala. That town hall that Anderson Cooper did with her, that President Trump was talking about, that was not, I was talking about this morning on this morning's live stream on the radio. That wasn't a town hall. That was a roast of Kamala Harris. Like a celebrity roast, it was a roast of Kamala Harris. Anderson Cooper was laughing at her. The questions that they set up to be asked humiliated her too. CNN has been very openly working to help Kamala Harris lose. All right, so let's get back to this. This is CNN.
Which we really haven't focused upon. A very, very tight race, John. Fact is, Donald Trump is very much in a position he could win the popular vote, which, of course, is something he would absolutely love to do.
And would be something very different than we have seen compared to last time and the polling compared to last time.
Exactly right. So I went back through the time machine, all right? I went back through the time machine to see where were the past two races at this point in the campaign. Look, Harris in the average poll right now is up by 1. Well within the margin of error. You go back 4 years ago, Joe Biden was well ahead of Donald Trump in the national poll.
4 years ago, in this same poll, Biden was up by 9, and in 2016, Clinton led by 6. I mean, she is getting creamed. When you have CNN making a prediction like that, That's huge. That's huge. And, the other, CNN is the deep state. I mean, this is well known and well documented. But they're not the only news outlet that's deep state. The Washington Post is also deep state. And the Washington Post is the paper of Woodward and Bernstein, right? Watergate, that brought down Nixon. And, Woodward and Bernstein were not investigative reporters. All that stuff in the movie are lies. They were handed everything by Deep Throat, who was a man named Mark Felt, who worked at the FBI. And he gave them all that information. So the deep state, FBI, brought down Nixon. So the Washington Post is a well-known deep state Democrat operation. And the Washington Post, for the first time since the 80s, is not endorsing anyone for president. It's a snub to Kamala. And their editor-at-large has resigned over this. Listen to this. Washington Post editor-at-large Robert Kagan. See, they want Kamala to lose, too. I know it's crazy. It sounds nuts, but it's true. Washington Post editor-at-large Robert Kagan resigned today over the Washington Post decision not to endorse Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris. While a number of staff are reportedly angry and considering exiting the paper over the decision, Kagan's resignation is particularly notable not just because of his standing at the Washington Post, but because of his ties to Republican politics. He served as a speechwriter for George Shultz during the Reagan administration, and he was an advisor to John McCain. In 2016, he left the Republican Party over its nomination of Trump and endorsed Hillary. So this guy's a hardcore fake Republican establishment neocon. So they're saying Bezos stopped it. I don't know how it happened, but you have CNN predicting Trump winning the popular vote, not just the Electoral College, but CNN predicting that he's going to win the popular vote, quite possibly. You have the Washington Post refusing to endorse Kamala Harris. This is all bad news for Kamala. I'm telling you, she is not only going to lose, she is going to have a humiliating defeat. Now, with that being said, the only thing we have going against us is overconfidence. We need to have 100 million turnout. And there's another article of chaos inside the Democrat Party. Listen to this. Dems in full disarray as progressive wing revolts against Kamala Harris coddling of Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, it's like having Ava Braun on the campaign trail. Liz Cheney isn't just a scumbag fake Republican herself. She's the daughter of a war criminal who's responsible for destroying the lives of millions of people over his WMD lies. Right? I mean, this is insane. And when you have CNN working very openly against Kamala, Washington Post refusing to endorse, the Democrat Party in disarray and upset that she's hanging out and running around with Liz Cheney. Sorry, guys, my throat's dry. And let me have some of my water here. Hold on. This is the angel water you hear me talking about on the radio. It comes right out of my sink. Ice cubes are angel water, too, from that angel water filtration system. Oh, man, that's good. It tastes just like Fiji water, but it comes out of my faucet. The Democrat machine is broken. The Democrat machine has been turned off. What little bit there is of it is working to help Trump. And I know this sounds insane. Trina says, what am I lying about? Everything I have talked about on this stream is on my X feed. Brian Craig Show on X. These are all stories that are well reported, well sourced. Everything I've been going through on this stream is a news story, and they're all right there on my X. You can go right down and see them all. Yeah. LA Times not endorsing Harris. Yeah, this is amazing. It's historic. Well, Trump derangement syndrome, you got it, There's a lot of that going around today. Not as much as there used to be because so many people have been red-pilled. But there is nothing that has come out that has helped Kamala Harris. In fact, we were talking about the other day, I was talking about the just devastating interview that Bret Baier did with Kamala Harris. That was brutal. But, if you go back, when has Kamala had a good moment, right? When has she had a good moment? Everything she has done, every interview she's done, every moment since she's been their candidate, since Biden stepped aside, has been a disaster. She hasn't had a good moment. Even I know she would like to think that she had a good moment during the debate, but then we find, they were coordinating. They gave her the questions in advance. The girl that was up there questioning with David Muir is a sorority sister of hers. So, that was a disaster. She has not had a single good, positive news day since she's been in this campaign. None. I mean, even yesterday, she had this event. They had Bruce Springsteen there, who looked he looked awful, didn't he? But as soon as Springsteen was done singing, people walked out. People walked out. They were there for Springsteen. It's all true. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe, and if you're already subbed, do me the favor of liking the video. Now, Mika Brzezinski has just lost it. This is Mika yesterday talking about our favorite president, Donald Trump.
His cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out.
His obsession with Hitler? What does she mean has now come out? Because that liar, even Mike Pence's top guy came out and said Kelly's lying. Mike Pence's guy. Mike Pence, they hate Trump. And even Mike Pence's guy says that Kelly's lying about Trump.
His cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries, it's all huge news.
Nothing that she said there is true. Donald Trump didn't say any of those things. Okay, Mika Brzezinski is about to have a meltdown, and part of this is beyond just the normal, average, everyday Trump derangement syndrome. What's going on with Mika is she's realizing that her and her scumbag husband, Morning Joe, have zero influence in this country. They've been on the air for years saying terrible crap and slandering the good name of Donald Trump. And not only is he winning, he's going to win in the biggest landslide since Ronald Reagan in 1984 against Walter Mondale. And they have zero influence. They have a small audience, and they're having meltdowns over it. That's it. Let's see. Let's go to the rest of that. I mean, she is really losing her freaking mind.
This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now, that he is killing us.
He's killing us. Who's he killing?
He is killing us. I'm talking about us women.
Oh, my goodness. So Mika Brzezinski, I mean, they've had so much lying BS about this president, and now we get this. He's killing women. What women have been killed by Donald Trump?
He is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us. He is putting us at risk. He is making us afraid to have babies.
Now, I know Mika Brzezinski, she's had a facelift. Looks like she's got a lot of Botox going on. I'm sure she dyes her hair. She wears a hell of a lot of makeup. So she looks younger than she is, but I think she's beyond the childbearing years. She has as much of a chance of getting pregnant as I do, okay? She can't, I'm sure she can, she's got to have been through menopause. So what is she talking about? She can't have a baby at this point.
He is putting our reproductive health at risk, and some women have died already because...
Really? A woman has died because of Donald Trump? Does anybody know who that is? What woman has died because of Donald Trump? I saw a mother whose 12-year-old little baby was raped and murdered by two of Kamala's illegal dreamers. I saw that. Her whole life was taken away from her. Her body autonomy was taken from her, and she was killed because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have allowed over 20 million illegals. Hundreds of thousands of them are criminals into the country. I don't hear Mika upset about that.
Women have died already because of this. So we can see right now what's coming. These headlines, and very good reporting, by the way, that shouldn't be questioned by idiots about what Trump has said about Hitler.
Oh, don't question it. What's been said about Trump, she doesn't think should be questioned. You should just accept it.
That's incredibly important to know. But I do understand that people who are busy and that are people who are just tapping in may not be able to comprehend because we've been free.
Wow. Okay, so if you don't hate Trump, if you don't believe this Hitler stuff, you're just checking in. You're not informed. You're not smart. You're ignorant. You're stupid, according to Mika.
We've been comfortable. We cannot comprehend that. And I understand that. I validate that it is hard to go from here to there. It is where we're going. I hope we don't find out the hard way. But what's happening with women right now is real, and it is playing out across America.
Wow, she's like in tears. Her and Joe are they're gonna go on a bender when this is over, when they get creamed. I mean, this is gonna be pretty brutal for them. Oh, Mika. Yeah. Well, you got to feel bad to a certain extent for Mika. I mean, look who she's married to.
And one other.
She's married to Morning Joe. Who do you think has the worst marriage, the most unhappy marriage? Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, or Bill and Hillary Clinton? Which house is the most dysfunctional? Which of those marriages? I would think Mika and Joe, all they do is think about Trump. Trump. All their Trump hate. That's all they think about. Hillary's miserable and all, but Bill tunes her out. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, they feed off of each other. Mm-hmm. Joe Scarborough does seem to be verbally abusive to her. He's verbally abusive to everyone. He's just a nasty man. He really is. He always has been. There's nothing pleasant about him. Well, I'll play this. Since we're talking about Mrs. Clinton.
And one other thing that you'll see next week, Caitlin, is Trump actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939. I write about this in my book. President Franklin Roosevelt was appalled that neo-Nazis, fascists in America were lining up to essentially pledge their support for the kind of government that they were seeing in Germany. So I don't think we can ignore it. Now,
okay. So anyone that goes to Trump's event at Madison Square Garden is a Nazi. Trump is a Nazi. It's at Madison Square Garden. Is she saying that anyone who has an event at Madison Square Garden is a Nazi now? I mean, Billy Joel just ended this multi-year residency thing he did at Madison Square Garden. Is Billy Joel a Nazi? Is he invoking Hitler when he's up there with the Piano Man and all that? Oh my goodness! Hillary is she's been abused by her husband her entire life, and she put herself in that position. Hillary Clinton allowed her husband to have sex with anything that he wanted to have sex with, take advantage and abuse women, even young 25-year-old interns, and she put up with all that crap. And by the way, put Chelsea Clinton through all that too, because she thought one day he was going to make her president. And then what happened? Barack Obama came along, who's acting like he's the big defender of women's rights and wants to break glass ceilings. And Barack Obama came along in 2008 and took Hillary's presidency away from her. Hillary Clinton would have been the president of the United States in 2008 if Barack Obama didn't jump into that race. So, she's very bitter, Hillary Clinton. But when you see Barack Obama talk about breaking glass ceilings like he's been doing this week for Kamala Harris, that could have happened 16 years ago with Hillary Clinton if it were not for him. And look who she was been running against. John McCain. Who would have won? Hillary Clinton versus John McCain. John McCain didn't even want to win. He probably would have voted for Hillary. John McCain probably voted for Obama and not himself for president. Hillary Clinton would have been the president in 2008. Yeah, I know. Gosh, who would have been worse as president? Hillary or Obama? I think she would have. I think he would have been. I think he was worse than she would have been. All Hillary would have done, it would have been very uneventful. All she would have done was constantly tell you she's broken the glass ceiling, and probably would not have done very much. Now, this Washington Post refusal to endorse Kamala Harris, that is so big. Now, listen to this article. This is in the Gateway Pundit, which is, I think, one of the best news outlets on the internet. In a huge blow to Kamala Harris, the Washington Post will not be making an endorsement in this year's presidential race. This is the first time the Washington Post has not made an endorsement in a presidential race since the 1980s. According to National Public Radio, there was a tense meeting with the editorial staff Friday morning. That's today, this morning. The decision was revealed in a tense meeting with people on the editorial staff, NPR reported. It arrives at a time of heightened concern over whether news outlets are pulling their punches in order to appease Trump in the final days of a neck-and-neck presidential race against Vice President Kamala Harris. That's interesting. Whether news outlets are pulling their punches to appease Trump. What's that about? Why would they be doing that? It is being reported that the call to not endorse any presidential candidate may have come down from Jeff Bezos, and the CEO, Will Lewis, carried out the order. I'm told by a person with direct knowledge that the Washington Post editor, David Shipley, implies that Bezos ordered the decision and Lewis carried it out, NPR reported. British publisher CEO Will Lewis wrote in an op-ed Friday, "We are returning to our roots of not endorsing presidential candidates." Then they write here in the Gateway Pundit, or perhaps the Kamala Harris Titanic is sinking and the Washington Post doesn't want to go down with the ship. What do you think? Why do you think the Washington Post? I know they want to blame Bezos, but maybe he did make that call. But Jeff Bezos, who's, to me, Jeff Bezos doesn't look like he's interested in much of anything that involves work. Him and his girlfriend look like they're on a permanent vacation around the world on super yachts. But if Bezos did get involved, they've looked at the internal polling, and they know it's done. It's over. Trump's winning, and he's winning big. So why burn their credibility and piss off the president, Donald Trump, when he's going to win? Why do that? Coming out and endorsing, the Washington Post has next to no credibility anyway. But if they endorse and then she loses in 11 days, the little credibility they have is hit pretty hard. So why risk what credibility? And that's a business decision on Bezos' part. Papers like the Washington Post are barely holding on. Coming in with endorsements on a candidate that's a Titanic, like they said in the Gateway Pundit, just damages the paper more. So if Bezos made that decision, it was a pretty wise decision. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, from a business perspective for the Washington Post. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. I'm a radio talk show host, podcaster, YouTuber. And this is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. And all you that are subscribed, please like the video, because that helps a lot. And, Kamala Harris, she does not like Christians. I mean, remember she threw those Christians out of the rally. There's no place for that here. You're in the wrong rally, you Christians. She didn't go to the Al Smith dinner, offending Catholics. She's buddying around with Gretchen Whitmer, who did that very offensive thing with the Holy Communion. Well, an archbishop, I'm Catholic, by the way, of our Catholic Church, has sent out an open letter to American Catholics about Kamala Harris. Archbishop Vigano, in an open letter to American Catholics, says Kamala Harris is an infernal monster who obeys Satan. Let me read this letter. Wow. Dear faithful, separated church and state doesn't exist. It's a liberal myth. Dear faithful American Catholics, this is the Archbishop. I am addressing all of you a few days before the presidential election that will call millions of American citizens to the polls. Even in conditions of relative normality, the exercise of the vote is your moral duty, through which you cooperate in the first person in choosing the person who will lead the nation for the next 4 years. But in this coming electoral round, just as in 2020, and indeed much more so, you are not simply called to choose between two candidates who happen to be on different political sides, but who both nevertheless have the common good at heart in compliance with the Constitution and the law. On one side, we have candidate Donald J. Trump. This is the Archbishop, who, despite serious problems in his positions, especially in the matter of abortion and assisted procreation, remember this Catholic Archbishop, has as his objective the common good and protection of the fundamental freedoms of citizens. In Donald Trump's America, every Catholic can practice their faith and educate their children in it without interference from the state. On the other side, that's Kamala. On the other side, we have a candidate and a party that promotes everything that directly opposes the faith and morals of the Catholic Church. In Kamala Harris's America, Catholics, but also Protestants, are considered fundamentalists to be marginalized and eliminated, and their children are considered the property of the state, which gives itself the right to lead them astray from an early age in both body and soul. This is so, so true. Trump's America can become great and prosperous again. Harris's America is destined for invasion and for moral, social, and economic destruction, the most ferocious dictatorship. Wow. The Archbishop here is not pulling any punches. Look at your country. Your cities have become dumps filled with derelicts and criminals, drug dealers and addicts, prostitutes and robbers. Your schools are dense with indoctrination and corruption from kindergarten onwards. This guy's an awesome archbishop, man. In your courts, criminals are acquitted and innocents are imprisoned. New ideological crimes are prosecuted, while illegality is tolerated and encouraged. In your hospitals, multinational corporations rule, and you are their guinea pigs to be exterminated or made chronically ill so that you will be their perpetual clients. Farmers, ranchers, and fishermen are persecuted and forced to fail, while the land is grabbed up by unscrupulous corporations who transform it into endless photovoltaic systems, and wind turbines to power their data centers and serve farms where they collect all your data, your movements, your purchases, and your political preferences. They have gone so far as to tamper with the climate by means of sophisticated geoengineering operations and devastating arson. He's talking about Hawaii, in order to make the global warming fraud credible and impose the green transition and increase the cost of energy. Wow. Let me skip down. He's very big into the climate change. They aim to control the entire food sector. Kamala talks about this all the time, to force you to eat only what they make available to you. This is what Agenda 2030 calls for, which has been imposed without any vote by the United Nations and World Economic Forum. Let me skip down. Let me get back to... You have seen what the Democrats, that is, the woke far left, have been capable of in 4 years. Imagine what they will be able to do if, instead of Biden's numerous stand-ins, the vice president is elected in the most scandalous and unimaginable... Yeah, because she didn't get any votes. with her entourage of LGBTQ plus ministers, rigorously woke, sold out to China or the World Economic Forum, sponsored by George Soros or Bill Gates, manipulated by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. At that point, dear American Catholics, you will not only have to go to a different rally, as Kamala would like, in order to say Christ is the Lord, because saying that will be considered hate speech, and praying in front of abortion clinics an act of terrorism. That's right, they sent that old lady to prison for praying in front of an abortion clinic. Do not think that these are remote hypotheses. Wherever the woke left takes power, it establishes the most vicious, anti-human, anti-Christian dictatorship that humanity has ever known. Can you disagree with it? This guy's awesome. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are not talking about two versions that are a bit different, but still part of the normal political back and forth. We're talking about two dramatically opposed worlds in which Trump fights against the deep state and is committed to freeing Americans from its grip, while on the opposite side, we have a corrupt and blackmailed candidate. That's Kamala, an organic part of the deep state who acts as a puppet in the hands of warmongers like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton of self. Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing. Whew. He goes on and on. Let me skip down a little bit. Let's see here. Voting for Donald Trump means firmly distancing ourselves from anti-Catholic, anti-Christian, and anti-human visions of society. That's right. He's exactly right. Wow. Voting for Kamala Harris is morally inadmissible and constitutes a very serious sin. It is a sin to vote for Kamala, he says. That's it. I mean, and then he concludes by saying she's an infernal monster who obeys Satan. Well, how could you disagree with that? I mean, this is crazy. Holy smokes. Now, Kamala has been in this race just a couple of months. Can you give me an example of her having a good moment? When has she had a positive news cycle? Everything about her has been a disaster, and with Walls too. Oh. This is pretty bad. Yeah, well, Canada. I saw in Canada, Trudeau's getting strict on illegal immigration now, right? The pressure's getting to him even. Because Trump's coming back. Remember what Tucker Carlson said? Daddy's coming home and Daddy is pissed. That's right. Oh, Walls is a clown. Walls is Kamala should get Walls out there more. He distracts from her problems. You know, the press hasn't been covering Walls too much. It's been all about her, and none of it has been good. Oh, man. Just less than 2 weeks. William, $2 super chat. I don't know about a court date for Fauci, but Judgment Day's coming up on Election Day for all of wokeism, right? You know, President Trump said yesterday that he's going to fire Jack Smith in his first 2 seconds of his second term. So that I guess that tells us that's going to be his first action, is going to be to fire Jack Smith. They're going to have freaking meltdowns over that one. They're going to try to impeach him again over it, but we're going to have the majority. But you know that tells you, you know, what the tone of the next 4 years is going to be, and this woke crap is going to fade away big time. You know, America's not into this woke crap. The media and the White House make you think it's popular. If all this wokeness, these crazy, bizarre things, if this were the popular thing, okay, if this is the way people were going in their thought process, Donald Trump wouldn't be so popular, right? You know, the wokeism is a very, very small minority viewpoint in this country. It's not mainstream at all. You know what? And everybody knows this. Lulu says, I miss the 80s. I miss the 80s too. That was a great time, the 80s. Now, did you see Bill Clinton was getting creepy about Carrie Lake?
Running against someone who is physically attractive but believes that politics is a performance art.
Yeah, so Bill Clinton's getting all excited. You know him. He sees a woman, all he thinks about is having sex with her. And at the Trump rally in Arizona, Carrie Lake, a lot of people miss this, but Carrie Lake commented on President Clinton having the hots for her.
Happening. And then yesterday, I actually woke up this morning and I found out yesterday one of the more familiar Democrats was in town, and his name is Bill Clinton. Hold on. I found out he actually paid me a compliment. He was here campaigning for Ruben Gallego, my cop-hating, open borders, anti-woman opponent. And Bill Clinton, he paid me a compliment. He said I was physically attractive. I woke up to this news this morning. First of all, you know what? As a middle-aged woman, I'm flattered. I'm flattered, okay? I don't get those kind of compliments every day. Two, I thought I was a little too old for him. Doesn't he like interns?
Don't you love Carrie Lake?
Three, I'm happily married to my husband, Jeff, who's right down here. The love of my life. And four, nobody in their right mind wants to cross Hillary Clinton. It's just dangerous.
She got cut off at the end, but it's just dangerous. Exactly. Oh, my goodness. I hope Carrie Lake. Can you imagine Carrie Lake in the Senate? She's going to be awesome. She's going to be awesome. She'll have press conferences like every day. And 6 years she'll be, each term 6 years, so 6 years of goodness till she's reelected. Carrie Lake will be amazing in the Senate. Oh, yeah. Everyone loves Carrie Lake. No doubt about it. Now, there's an article in the Washington Post about Barron could very well be the second President Trump, Listen to this. This is in the New York Post. Donald Trump's youngest son, Barron, just started classes at NYU, but he's been behind President Trump's reaching some of the biggest audiences of the election cycle, right? The Gen Z and millennials through all these things. The 18-year-old Barron has rarely been spotted on the campaign trail, but his 78-year-old dad has frequently credited Barron with helping him pick his podcast spots. So these are the Aiden Ross and Theo Vaughn and Patrick Bet-David. All these things it's been done through Barron. And that's amazing because he's doing these interviews and going on these shows where he's not preaching to the choir, right? I mean, I love Trump. Hopefully you do too. And the rallies are great and all. But he has been doing a lot of outreach to people that are not on the Trump train. He's already got us. He's got, and I think he's been pretty successful with this, don't you guys? I think he has been incredibly successful in his outreach to all of these people that he really, truly has been red pilling all over the place. Listen, I don't mind different viewpoints in here, but please don't spam the chat if you don't mind, okay? It's, listen, if you're running for president and you're running a national election, you have to get people to support you that normally don't. Right? And that's one of the reasons, there's many reasons why he's so popular, but it's one of the reasons he's doing so well in the polls. No doubt about it. And, one thing, I was talking about this this morning, and I think it's interesting. If you notice, President Trump hasn't really been campaigning for other people. He'll mention a congressman here and there, maybe bring someone on stage, but he's not running around doing rallies to endorse other candidates congressmen, governors, states, attorney generals, secretaries of state, and such. It's just been, hey, reelect me. And that is not by accident. That is a very, very smart strategy. And the reason he is doing that, well, first off, if he doesn't win, nothing else matters. I mean, but you start endorsing all of these people, they screw up, and all of a sudden you're responsible for them. And if you also notice, President Trump hasn't been getting involved in any back and forth with the press. Like, for example, they dropped these two absurd stories yesterday, the Hitler Nazi stuff and this girl that used to date Epstein making some allegations. He ignored them both. He didn't play with them. And he gave them, he didn't get embroiled in all these press discussions like he used to. So when they put out these slanders, they've got nowhere to go with them, right? And the way that President Trump has run this campaign has been absolutely brilliant, hasn't it? Brilliant. Totally different campaign than he's run in the past two elections. It's not a traditional campaign, but it's just it's a different campaign, and it's a pretty smart one. Well, you only get 2 terms, and this will be a second term, and then it looks like we'll have J.D. Vance as the second MAGA president, unless J.D. screws up. But J.D.'s looking good. I am so impressed. Every time I see J.D. Vance on one of these interviews, I love him more than I did the time before. I mean, he is so good when he's doing these Sunday show interviews with these liberal anchors that are stars of the mainstream media. Now, here in Florida, where I live, you don't have as many as you used to because they were old and most of them sadly are gone. But we had a lot of Holocaust survivors throughout my life in Florida. And when I was young, you'd see them all over the place, the numbers on the wrist and everything. And I've met many Holocaust survivors. Over the years, I've had Holocaust survivors call me on the radio. I had this one woman years ago, old lady, called me on the radio, liberal woman, giving me a hard time. I don't remember what the conversation was about. And then she told me she was a Holocaust survivor. And I said, hey, you're a Holocaust survivor. You have a special place, a special level of respect. I disagree with you, but out of respect for that, I'm not going to debate and talk to you like I would talk to another liberal caller, because she's a Holocaust survivor. Holocaust survivors are put on a special pedestal, deservingly so. And when a Holocaust survivor talks, that's a voice I listen to, and I think Holocaust survivors command respect. Here's a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor talking about Kamala Harris and these absurd Hitler comments that she made about our favorite president, Donald Trump. Listen. 94-year-old Holocaust survivor.
My name is Jerry Wartsky. I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Why should the Jewish people support President Trump?
Why should the Jewish people support President Trump, the interviewer asked the Holocaust survivor.
Because he's a mensch. I believe that President Trump is definitely going to be good for Israel, because in everything that he's done up to now was in favor. He never double-crossed anyone, and he never showed any weakness. Watching President Trump pray for the hostages at the OHL, and spend time with him so meaningful. He has always stood with the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
Yeah, I mean, that's some powerful stuff. They're calling him a Nazi, and here he is with a Holocaust survivor out there defending him and being very offended at Kamala Harris's insensitive comments about the Holocaust. Just a terrible person. Luckily, we only got 2 more weeks, less than 2 weeks, to worry about what Kamala Harris says, and then it's off to retirement. Now, if you've not already done it, please subscribe to my channel, and if you're already subbed, do me the favor of liking the video, okay? This is most definitely where MAGA comes to talk. I'm going to be here throughout the weekend, live streaming and podcasting, and you'll want to be a part of it. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you then, all right? My name is Brian. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. Take care.